named Mystery and Mischief. Now at this point, quick update on the weather. The 45th Space Wing gave us a 70% chance of go, the primary concern being cumulus clouds along the ascent trajectory. Still waiting to see if we will be go for launch at 7:29 Eastern Time, but from what I've heard, we are trending towards green for launch. Now with that, vehicle, satellites, weather, and range looking good for an on-time launch. Weather, of course, with that watch item right until the final minutes before liftoff. Now, as many of you know, the Starlink team is well into the first phase of testing with our private beta program. During this time, the Starlink team has been collecting latency statistics and performing standard speed tests on the system. The initial results from these tests have actually been really promising, showing super low latency and download speeds in excess of 100 megabits per second. As we've mentioned previously, we are still in the beginning stages of building out our global satellite internet constellation, but the initial results do look promising, and we're looking forward to rolling out a public beta later on this year. Earlier this week, we also heard from emergency responders in Washington State who have been using Starlink for their purposes and to help bring the residents of Malden, Washington internet service as they rebuild their community following devastating wildfires that hit that area back in August. A representative from the Washington State Military Department said he's never worked any tactical satellite equipment that has been so quick to set up and anywhere near as reliable. And the way that these emergency responders deployed Starlink is actually representative of how it currently works best in remote and rural areas where internet connectivity is sometimes unavailable. As I mentioned, the network is still very much a work in progress, so if you'd like to help build it out, head on over to spacex.com and check out our careers page. And if you'd like to receive updates on Starlink news and service availability in your area, please go and visit us at starlink.com. Now, at this point, we are T-4 minutes from liftoff. Just heard on the nets that we are go on weather. Falcon 9 is moving into the final stages of countdown. Vehicle is looking healthy. At this point, the first and second stages have nearly 1 million pounds of that rocket-grade kerosene RP1 fuel on board and liquid oxygen. And the clouds that you're seeing there around the second stage is from actually that super chilled liquid oxygen. We do periodic vents. You actually just saw one there as we continue to top up those propellant tanks until the T-2 minute mark. And when that cold oxygen comes into contact with the moist Florida air, it actually causes water vapor to condense and form actual clouds around the vehicle. Now we're expecting the first stage to finish up prop loading, so it'll close out LOX loading just under 10 seconds from now. And second stage will be shortly after at about T-2 minutes. Now about T-60 seconds, Falcon 9.
LOX load closed out.
There's that call out for LOX load closeout. About T-60 seconds, Falcon 9 will transition into startup. That means that the rocket's internal flight computers will have taken over the launch countdown, and they will continue to have control of the vehicle all the way through the rest of the mission. At this point as well, the Starlink payload is continuing to look healthy. No issues being tracked by the Falcon 9 team at this moment. Weather is go for launch. Range is currently green for launch. Coming up around T-2 minutes, we'll hear a second call out here for stage 2 LOX load complete.
Stage 2 LOX load is closed out.
Beautiful shot of pad 39A with the crew tower to the next of it. Not using that today. Coming up shortly here, we'll actually see some venting from that large truss structure on the left-hand side of the vehicle. You can see it starting there. That truss structure is what we refer to as the transporter erector. That's what rolled out Falcon 9 to the pad and provides electrical power as well as the propellants that we've been loading into the vehicle. At this point, we're just venting out liquid oxygen that is in the lines on the transporter erector before transitioning into the final steps before liftoff.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
So with that call out, Falcon 9 is now on autonomous internal control. Coming up, we'll hear from the launch director, see if they will give their final go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
So with that, Falcon 9 teams ready to go, vehicle ready to go, weather and range ready to support. Why don't we listen in to these final 30 seconds of terminal count.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Stage 1 flight press.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
We're pitching down range.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 40 seconds, Falcon 9 successfully lifting off from Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. We're taking that Starlink orbit to its first, Starlink satellites to its first targeted orbit and eventually a circular orbit. We actually just throttled down for maximum dynamic pressure, or max Q, on those 9 Merlin engines. We'll expect to hear that call out here shortly.
Vehicle is supersonic. Max Q.
So call out there for having gone through the point of maximum aerodynamic pressure. That's when the loads on the vehicle are the highest from the combination of our velocity, but increasing while the density of the atmosphere decreases. Now, coming up in just about a minute, we will have 3 events happening back to back. First will be main engine cutoff, or MECO. That's where we'll shut down those 9 Merlin engines. You can see the plume expanding from them on the back of the rocket here. That'll be in preparation for stage separation. Now, stage separation is where the first and second stages will separate. First stage will continue on a parabolic trajectory towards the drone ship, while the second stage continues on to the final event, or second engine start number 1. That's where that Merlin vacuum engine will ignite. And once it lights up, it'll propel the second stage along with Starlink satellites into orbit. Actually heard earlier that we've started chill in on the turbo pumps of the Merlin vacuum engine to get it ready for that full flow of propellant and oxidizer. So coming up just about 12 seconds from now, expect to see MECO, its main engine cutoff, then stage separation, and then at about T plus 2 minutes and 45 seconds, second engine start number 1.
MECO.
Stage separation confirmed.
So there is successful stage separation and second engine start. You can see the grid fins deploying on the left-hand side of your screen. That's the first stage. On the right-hand side of your screen is the Merlin vacuum engine starting to glow brightly with the heat of that combustion reaction. First stage making its way back towards
Acquisition of
planet
signal,
Earth.
Maryland.
Coming up here, should be fairing deployment shortly.
Separation confirmed.
There's a call out on the nets and a beautiful shot of the Starlink satellites. You can see on the right-hand side there a little bit of planet Earth. And actually, you can see a fairing half there trailing away. Now, as a reminder, we will be attempting to recover both the fairing halves today on our recovery ships, Mystery and Mischief, that are also stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage heading towards its targeted drop-off orbit. Now, while that's happening, the first stage is actually going to execute 2 burns to make its way back to Earth. You can see right now that we are actually pitching the first stage vehicle to try to get those Merlin engines facing towards the atmosphere.
Signal Bermuda.
Those periodic gas clouds that you see along the first stage are actually from our attitude control system. And once we get to the top of the Earth's atmosphere, we'll ignite 3 of the 9 Merlin engines for entry burn. That'll help slow down the first stage as it re-enters the upper parts of the Earth's atmosphere. And the second of those burns will actually happen much closer to touchdown on the drone ship. That's the landing burn, where we will ignite just a single Merlin engine at the center of the set of 9. And that'll slow down the vehicle rapidly before hopefully a soft touchdown on our drone ship. On the right-hand side of your screen, continuing to see the Merlin vacuum engine continuing to burn. This is a pretty long burn for the Merlin vacuum engine. This will be going until about T+8 minutes
Second stage on
and
nominal
48
trajectory.
seconds. Call out there from the navigation officer that the second stage is on a nominal trajectory at this point. So flying right down the middle of the bars. Cool shot from the interstage on the left-hand side of your screen. That's looking up at where the second stage previously was, looking out towards space, because those Merlin engines are pointed towards planet Earth. Coming up in about a minute from now, we'll expect to see that entry burn start. Entry burn will expected to last about 20 seconds. Again, that'll be 3 Merlin engines, and usually you can actually see the plume sort of creeping up the side of the rocket, since the vehicle is right now both going thousands of miles an hour. At this point, the first stage has reached the highest point of its orbit, the apogee, so it is on the downhill portion of the of its trajectory. You can see Earth getting bigger and bigger.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Startup of those 3 Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Second stage continuing to burn nominally.
Expected loss of signal, Cape.
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
So with that, we will continue on the first stage to apply some attitude control from those attitude control thrusters. And as the atmosphere gets thicker and thicker, the grid fins will actually start to gain most of the control authority.
Second stage on nominal trajectory.
And the grid fins will continue to fly Falcon 9 in, giving us aerodynamic control. Looks like we just lost the link as it re-enters there. Here's a shot of the drone ship. Again, that's 624 kilometers off the east coast of Florida, awaiting first stage for a landing attempt. Second stage continuing to look good. That glow that you see on the nozzle extension is normal. That's just from the heat of the combustion reaction radiating out to space through the nozzle. Now, part of the reason why the second stage has such a large nozzle is to try to get the most out of the propulsive gases that we're producing in the propulsion chamber. And so that allows the second stage to be a little more efficient in the vacuum of space. Coming up here, we expect to hear a call out for landing burn start on the first stage. That'll be just a single center Merlin
Stage
engine.
1 landing burn startup.
Shortly after, we'll expect to see landing leg deploy, and then hopefully a touchdown on the drone ship.
Terminal guidance.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Looks like right
Landing confirmed.
in the center. That marks 61 successful
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
recoveries. Third time for this booster. Now, coming up about 8 seconds from now, second stage is also going to shut down its engine for second engine cutoff number 1. Keep an eye out for that on the right-hand side of your screen.
Seco 1.
And successful shutdown of the Merlin vacuum engine. Navigation officers will be assessing whether we have ended up in the right orbit. And most of the way up, we were right down the middle.
Nominal orbit insertion.
So good call out there. We're in the first of 2 planned orbits. Now, the second stage is going to coast in this orbit for about the next 30 minutes. We're actually going to take a break while it's doing that, but we'll leave you with an animation that shows exactly where the stage is in this coast phase. And we'll see you back here at T plus 42 minutes for reignition of the second stage's engine. See you back shortly.